We're the hosts, Sherrie Price Clark of Storehouse Media. Sherrie, how are you? And I know you're really excited about our guest today.
I am fine. Thank you, Neil. And I am very excited to welcome Phil Cunningham to the show. And who is Phil Cunningham? He is a prominent figure in the animation industry. He's a producer, he's a director, and he's the founder of Sunrise Animation Studios 25 years ago, right? And has
That's right.
produced popular animated series like Jungle Beat and its spinoffs. So, welcome, Phil. It's great
Thank
to
you
have
so
you
much.
here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you guys. It's awesome.
All right, fantastic. Good, Sherrie.
Well, so you're here to talk about being the director and about the animated film coming up called David. I've seen a lot of previews about it, and I'm excited because I love the story of David on so many reasons. But I'm kind of curious for you, why do you think so many TV shows and movies have been made about David?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think there's so many reasons. The one I can see with David is we can all relate to him because he's a flawed human being like all of us. He's far from perfect, but that doesn't stop him living bravely. He holds nothing back. When he's fearful, he speaks out his fear. When he's got questions, he says, "Why God?" When he's happy, he speaks out his joy. And so he's just got this beautiful character where he lives wholeheartedly, despite the fact that he's not perfect. And he's also just got this beautiful heart of adventure and fearlessness that I think is inspiring as well. Yeah.
No, I think it definitely is inspiring, and I think that everyone thinks of David and Goliath. That's the big thing. And as myself being 6'10" and a kind of self-proclaimed giant, it was interesting when I was interviewing people from David, the series, the streaming series.
Yeah.
They mentioned that whole story, but I think that that's the thing. David overcoming Goliath is what people think about David a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, it's an incredible story, obviously. And from our movie, just so you know, we go from young David, a shepherd boy, we go past where he fights Goliath, and we go on to where he becomes king of Judah, because there's so much interesting material after Goliath, obviously.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But people just think of that if they're off the streets, David Goliath, David
David
versus
Goliath. Yeah.
Goliath.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and I agree with you about the reason about David is because he resonates with so many of us because he was flawed, but he was after God's own heart and God
Yeah.
blessed him. I mean, he paid consequences for things he did.
Yeah.
But I tell people because you're into storytelling too, that's your thing. I love
Mm.
storytelling. And when you're writing a story, you're doing a story, you know, for instance, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
everybody loves Spider-Man. He's awesome. He's cool. He's got the cool costume. He's got the web coming out of his, wrist swings through the streets. But it's Peter Parker that they relate to. And I
Yeah.
think that's like with David.
Mm.
David has his flaws, but we're like, we're flawed too. But
Mm.
we need to seek God like David did because that doesn't keep us from having that close relationship with God. And he had a close relationship with God.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And for me, it was maybe 37 years ago the vision for the movie started. I was canoeing down a beautiful river in Africa called the Zambezi River. And just looking up, you could canoe for 4 days, 5 nights, not see a human being. And just looking up at the stars, the thunderstorms, the elephant, the buffalo, the charging lion. And I was reading David's story, and exactly what you just said. I found in David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. And I was like, wow, if we could tell a story about David's heart, it'll perhaps give people a glimpse of God's heart, this beautiful, expansive, adventurous heart. Whether you're from the faith community or not, I think his story is so magnetic and just can really inspire. Yeah.
What were the challenges of making the film?
Yeah, I mean, the one of my huge passions, Neil, was my wife and I, Jackie. Just to quickly tell you the challenge, we were in Paris looking up at the Arc de Triomphe, just looking at the scale of it and the attention to detail. And as creators and filmmakers, we were like, if you look at Paris, you've got all these apartment blocks and factories. You could churn money as a filmmaker and make movies, but we really wanted to make a movie that was an Arc de Triomphe, that the scale of it, the attention to detail was a beacon of inspiration to our generation, and that really competed with Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks movies. We wanted it to be like genuinely one of the best of the best. And so the challenge was to go there, to find the budget, to build a team capable of doing that. In the end, we had between 400 and 500 people working in 32 countries around the world. Like our head of story was 20 years at Pixar. He came here. Our director of photography was 20 years at DreamWorks. But to answer your question, the huge challenge was just aggregating, building the team, building the skill to genuinely try pull off an Arc de Triomphe, not just another, TV movie. Because we shot this for cinema, and we really wanted it to be epic. Yeah, so that was the challenge. It was a mountain to climb, lots of failures, lots of setbacks, and we actually we were making it for, well, the vision was 37 years ago. We've been making it for 10 years. So that's how long we've been at this particular movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. There's a lot of emotional layers here, with
Yeah.
David, his mother, how they were really close, and then his musician. How did you, as a director, it's like you're directing an animated film. How did you approach all those emotional layers in this animation?
Oh, that's such a great question. I mean, I think the fortunate thing when you're telling a story about David, we know he wrote half the Psalms. He was an incredible musician and songwriter. And that just reveals so much of what was going on in his heart, which makes it way easier to build out the depth and connection. And in the movie, it is also a musical because he's authentically a musician, so he sings. So I think the music is a really huge part of getting to what you just said. It helps us bring in that emotion and that depth. And in terms of his mother, I'm so glad you brought that up because this movie really champions mothers. Like my mother, who's passed away now, but was so incredibly inspiring. When I was 14, 16 years, she was like, Phil, when David was your age, he was fighting Goliath. Daniel was in the lion's den. What are you doing? Get out there and have an adventure. And I found a beautiful psalm that says, I serve you, God, as my mother did. So obviously, his mom had a huge impact. So I had this genuine real life experience to draw on as well. So build a team around you because they help you get it, but the music and then some personal stories helped as well.
What is your hope for the film?
So our hope is that that it really genuinely is. We really obviously made it to be entertaining, but our hope is that it's more than entertaining. It must entertain to get people in, but our hope is that it inspires, and it inspires people to take on the giants in their lives, to live wholeheartedly, and perhaps to open their minds to the fact that God could be an amazing God of adventure and expansiveness. So it's not to try and preach to people, it's just to try and tell a great story, a real story, and then hopefully different people get different things out of it. Yeah, is the answer, yeah.
Well, and speaking of giants, and as Neil said earlier, Goliath is so iconic. Even,
Yeah,
just in within itself, when people talk about, battle they're facing in life, it's a Goliath. That's
yeah.
the term they will use. So again, back to the animation, because I think that's so interesting, is being an iconic antagonist that Goliath was. How did you reimagine doing that clash with the modern audiences while still staying true to the theme?
Yeah, so we really, just to quickly say the whole script, we really wanted to stay true because you were talking about Spider-Man earlier. And what we didn't want to do, if you take comic book fans, you can't take Superman's cape and put it on Spider-Man. You're going to upset your comic book fans. So, in terms of telling the David story, we really wanted to be authentic. We did 4 trips to Israel. We were really trying to stay very rooted in the source material. So when it comes to the battle with Goliath, we try to stay very connected to what actually happened. But there's a very cool thing. I think I get it from the Titanic, where before they sailed, as they now said, God Himself could not sink the ship. And I think we've set up a beautiful moment with Goliath where when David says, I come against you in the name of the Lord, and Goliath really thinks he's taking on a god. So we set up this beautiful, I think, Titanic moment. So the battle and the action is beautiful, I think, and authentic. But I think we've built in a beautiful aspect of it that people might be surprised by. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the characters. So talk about who you got to play the cast.
Oh, that's an incredible story. Just to say a quick shout out to Ned Lott, who is our casting agent. He's a well-known casting agent. We went about it not from a marketing point of view. So this whole movie was not done out of a boardroom or out of marketing, from a marketing perspective. We were like, find us the best voice for Saw. When you go watch the movie, you listen to the voice of Saw, for example. It is awesome. The only person who ended up on this movie who's kind of well-known and famous is Phil Wickham as adult David. And young David is spectacular as an actor as well. But just quickly to talk about Phil, we went looking for, obviously for people who could sing because David sings. He's got to be a great singer. We discovered, though, Neil, a lot of great singers are not great actors. But with Phil Wickham, we found somebody who was a great singer, brought great acting energy, but most importantly, for me, embodied what we were trying to find, the character, the energy, the adventure of David. He really brought in spades, and his work ethic was amazing. So, yeah, we just to say the casting process was wide and long, but we really feel we found each character that suited Saul, Samuel, David, Jonathan. Yeah.
Well, I love Phil Wickham. I mean, I'm a huge fan when I saw his name, and I'm like, wow, he's in it as David, as the voice. You also have Lauren Daigle.
Yeah,
She can sing.
She can sing. Wow, she plays a fairly minor role, but she was awesome to work with. And just a quick cool story. She told me she went, I think, to Disney World. They had this practice space where you could go and try pretend to be a voiceover, and they'll tell you if you're going to make it or not. They told her you'll never make it. So she's like, I'm going to make it as a voice actor. So she went off, and she came well prepared. She was one of the most incredible people to work with. Like, she nailed it fast, and she's a great actor. So we would love to work with her again in the future. Yeah.
And is this beyond your wildest dreams of having it in theaters as well when you put this together?
Yeah, I guess you always set out with this Arc de Triomphe in your mind, and you've got this thing in your mind in cinemas, but it's incredible to be on this day today when we're talking to you guys. It gets released today, and Neil, there's so many journeys on the way where you're like, this is never going to happen. We're not going to get there. We've just so in a way, it's beyond our wildest dreams because you have this hope and this dream, but along the way, you're like, it's never going to happen, and you end up in the wilderness and in the desert. So yeah, to be here today is incredible. It's such a beautiful moment.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, you've had your studios, Sunrise Animation Studios, for a while, and you did a few things before. You did the series. It's a 5-part series about David, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is kind of like a sequel to it. And
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
I think
yeah, and it's I see it advertised all the time on television. I'm like, wow, that's really awesome. So that's got to really feel good. Like 25 years, and here you are, but you're recognized in the industry. You've got quite the CV going on. So congrats. I can't wait to see the movie.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to say the projects before, I almost feels like when David went to fight Goliath, he said, I fought lions and bears. I'm ready to fight the giants. So it's almost like the Jungle Beat series we did, which has got a beautiful YouTube following, and the Young David shorts. They were all kind of preparing us, I think, for this moment. This was what we were always dreaming about, was the David movie. And everything else was like crawl, walk, run, Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. I guess any people to thank for this film coming out, and who do you would like to thank?
So, yeah, thank you. That's an awesome question. I think there's two things I'll quickly say. There's the 400 and 500 people who made the movie. It's hard to single anyone out because it's just an incredible team from all over the world. But if there's one person to thank as a human, it would be my wife, Jackie, because she was the inspiration for this. She saw a dream that I had. She said, Phil, we had an agricultural business when I started. She said, an eagle that chases 2 rabbits, both will get away. You need to shut down your agricultural business. You need to go for this. And on the whole journey, when I had doubts, she had faith. She was incredible, just steadfast the whole way. But most importantly, she loved people. And she always said in the making of the movie that people are more important than the product. The process is more important than the product, the way we treat people. And I'd say the biggest thanks to her, because I think she really brought the heart to that team. Yeah. And fellow director Brent Dawes, because we directed together, incredible director, incredible creative. He also wrote the script and worked so closely with me. So I'd say the whole team, but call out those two in particular. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Where can we find info? Where's the best place people can check out the film and stuff?
So thank you. The easiest place is to go to angel.com/David, and that's where you can buy tickets. You can get a whole lot of information. So angel.com/David.
All right. Fantastic. We appreciate it. Thank you again, Phil.
Thank you, guys.
Phil.
All right.
Bye.
That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show on the Storehouse Media Group podcast, guys. Take care.